Good day, one and all. Welcome to the Belonging Advantage, where leadership, culture, and belonging meet. I'm Dr. Patricia Robinson, and I teach and work at the intersection of leadership and culture with the focus on belonging, psychological safety, and values-based influence. Today, we're going to talk about belonging. This whole podcast, in some way, shape, or form, is about belonging. Whether you lead a team, serve in ministry, teach students, run a household, or simply want to become a stronger version of yourself, this conversation is for you. Welcome to the Belonging Advantage, where leadership, culture, and belonging meet. I'm Dr. Patricia Robinson, and in this episode, which is the second episode in our foundational series on the belonging leadership model, which covers character, courage, conviction, and culture. Today, we're focusing on the first pillar, which is character. Competence gets you noticed, but character gets you trusted. Now, before we go any further, I want to share a moment that taught me something about character that I did not learn from a textbook. A few years ago, I was committed to something important, something that mattered to someone else, and I genuinely believed that I would be able to deliver. But life got busy. You know how that is. I got stretched, and I didn't follow through the way I should have. But what surprised me wasn't just the disappointment, it was what I saw underneath it. You see, the issue wasn't really the task, the issue was trust. Someone trusted me to do something, and I was not able to follow through with it. Because when you don't follow through, even on something that seems small, people start asking bigger questions. Can I rely on you? And I remember realizing in that moment that my competence, my knowledge is impressive, but character is dependable. And dependability is what creates safety. That experience really was an eye-opener for me, and it shaped how I think about belonging, because belonging grows where people can trust you. And that has become my lifelong mantra, I guess you can say, is that people trust my character. People are able to feel safe based on what I am presenting or bringing. And so that's why today we're talking about character. We're talking about it because trust does not begin with competence, your knowledge. It begins with integrity. Trust begins with integrity. And as individuals, as leaders or influencers, your integrity goes before you in everything, in every aspect of what you do. When you think about character in a practical way, you're not thinking about perfection. You're not thinking about charisma. You're not even thinking about a person's personality type. You know, you're talking about character being that piece of integrity that's in motion. It's the path, the alignment between values and behavior over time, over a repeated time. It's being consistent with what you do in how you speak and your follow through that I mentioned my story earlier. The consistency of being a person who's known for follow through, your being fair, or your honesty and your accountability. That's what character is, and that's what people see and what people are looking for when they're looking for that character in other people. So when character is present in someone, it produces that trust. When character is present in that environment, it produces trust. And without it, people are uncertain. That trust is now lacking. And that uncertainty is one of the fastest ways to weaken belonging. Because people, they can't fully belong where they don't know what to expect. That uncertainty, what will he or she say today, or what attitude or what mood will that person be in today? Will that person do what they said that they were going to do? Are they going to be honest today? When people don't know what to expect, that belonging becomes shaky, and they go back into that retreat of self-protecting because they don't know what to expect because of that uncertainty. So I'm going to continue to anchor what I say in this podcast on what I wrote in my dissertation. Sense of belonging is crucial and powerful. It is at the center of living a meaningful and engaging life. And I'm in the process now. I just did some research on workplace bullying. And I'm reading through and analyzing and, getting my codes and themes together for that. And I'm seeing where belonging is such a crucial part. Individuals spoke about that in their responses. And my mind is just like, wow, people just are not getting it. And so I hope with this podcast and this show that people will begin to understand just how crucial belonging is, and how we as leaders, as co-workers, as colleagues, as influencers, how we as people, as human beings, how we play a part in other people's belonging. And so we have to take it seriously as humans, how we do certain things in our day-to-day lives. Belonging is a central component of that. And to build it, we have to build the conditions that make belonging possible. We all have the ability to do that, to change environments, to change atmospheres, to shift the dynamics of a culture, of an organization, or in our homes. We have to be willing to do it. And one of the strongest conditions to be able to do that is trust. People have to trust you. And that trust is built on your character. So it all ties in together. You can't have one without the other. You have to tie it all together, bring it all together to make it work, so that belonging becomes not just a side effect, or not just something that happens by happenstance. No, you are being intentional. We are being intentional with how we show up, how we change things, how we make others feel that they belong. So, and in everyday life, what does that look like? How do we show up our character? How does our character show up? We talked about earlier consistency. People know what to expect from you. Your values don't change with your mood. That's being consistent. That's being who you are at all times, even when people aren't looking. Because believe it or not, they may not see you, but the results of what you may do or what you may say will trickle down as well. And believe it or not, also, people are watching you more than you think. So people are observing leaders and people of influence and your colleagues and your coworkers. You're being watched. You're being observed to see if you are going to be consistent. When I first got married, my husband, I said to him, listen, what you see is what you get. This is who I am. I've been through a lot in life. I've experienced a lot. This is who I am. And your behavior, your different antics at that point, let's call them antics, are not going to change who I am. I'm not going to be drawn into where you are at that particular point if it's foolishness, right? And so he set out to see if I was going to be consistent in the way I carry myself as a wife, as a woman of God. So he would say certain things, would do certain things to try to get under my skin. And one day I sat there and he was saying something and I said, listen, I just realized what you are trying to do. And it's not going to work. I don't have time to entertain the foolishness. I don't have time for the silly games. I don't have time to get into silly arguments or disagreements, because that's not who I am. I have grown past that, and I'm not going to allow anyone, even my husband, to pull me back into that environment, right? And so we can now joke about it and chuckle about it, but he was literally trying to see if my character was going to change, if I was going to display something that was going to be different. So I learned that my being consistent in who I am is important in my day-to-day living life. Another way character shows up is fairness. Are we treating people with dignity? Are our standards clear? Are we displaying favoritism, or we are treating every person equally, showing them dignity in who they are, what they bring to the environment, what they bring to the table? Are our standards clear? Another way character shows up is honesty. Truth without cruelty. Truth without trying to embarrass someone, demean someone, belittle someone. It's being truthful, without all the drama, without being cruel to individuals that are in our environment or in our space. Honesty is an aspect that we all should be striving for. Another area of character is accountability. Are we owning our own mistakes? Are we correcting them and then doing what we can to repair any damage as quickly as possible? Accountability is not throwing your teammates, your colleagues, or anyone, your family members, under the bus because of something you may have done. But it's owning your mistakes and then doing what you can to correct them. That's accountability. That's character. That's an aspect of character that shows that you are mature enough to learn from your mistakes and then correct them as quickly as possible. Another area of character is respect. Are you respecting the people around you? How do you treat people when you're tired or under pressure is one of the clearest signals of your character. A lot of people, they're happy, they're chipper, they're good to go. They treat everybody, they have this utmost respect for people. But when you're tired and under pressure, that's when your character comes out the most. That's when the respect that you show to other people is going to be demonstrated. And that's what people are going to see, and that's what they're going to remember. Sometimes people are not going to remember you had that great day. You had that best day. You were on fire on this day. They remember how you treated them on one of your hardest days. So that's why as leaders, as influencers in your home, you have to make sure that no matter how difficult things are going, that you are able to maintain your character. You're able to stay true to your character. Your character is not defined by what you say you value. It's defined by what you consistently practice. You've got to put into practice what you do, how you do it, how you say it, when you do it. That's how your character is defined. And so you also, as leaders, you also have to understand that reputation is not what people think about you. I'm so sorry. Reputation is what people think about you. Character is who you are when no one is watching. I mentioned that earlier. Doing what you need to do even when people are not watching. Your reputation can be managed, but your character must be developed. Your reputation can be managed. You know, people have a whole marketing brand or a whole PR brand that is managing their reputation, what people see them as out in the world. But your character, that is something that you individually have to develop. In leadership, it's easy to protect an image while ignoring integrity. But people may follow your title. Only character creates trust. Let me say that again. People may follow you because of who your title, your branding, your influence, and what have you, but only character creates that trust. And without trust, belonging becomes fragile. It becomes sensitive. And so you have to be mindful of that, right? And there are so many different things that can erode trust, right? Making small compromises. Saying to someone, oh, it's not that serious. No one will notice. Oh, it's just this once. But repeated compromises train people not to trust you. If you are consistently telling people, oh, it's not that serious, I'll do it next time. Oh, it's just this once something came up. You're training them to not trust you. Another area is inconsistency under pressure. If people experience you one way when you're calm, cool, collected, and another way when you're stressed, they begin to walk on eggshells. They don't know how to act around you. They don't know what to do, what to say, because they're afraid that they may say or do something that may trigger you off. And all of a sudden, they're now on the receiving end of negativity and demoralization. That's not what you want. Something else that erodes trust is favoritism. Even if it's unintentional. We all have people that we like more than others. But we have to be mindful. We have to watch how we say it, how we show it, how we act it, especially in an environment where at work or colleagues or in your family. We have to make sure that everybody's voice matters. Because the minute that someone's voice is matters more than others, that trust is being eroded. So watch how you portray favoritism. We're human. Again, like I said, you're gonna be drawn more to one person than to the other. But again, you want to be careful that it doesn't become favoritism. That's what you need to watch out for. Another area is silence when harm happens. I mentioned at the beginning, at the top of this episode, that I'm doing new research on, I just collected my data on workplace bullying, and one of the themes that just kept surfacing was the fact that leadership remained silent when harm was happening, when bullying was occurring. The leadership were remaining silent. When something unfair occurs and leaders say nothing, people assume that this culture will not protect me. People assume that the leader is on board with the unfair behavior or the inappropriate behavior or any harm that is done. So as people of influence, as leaders, as, for yourself and your home and in any environment you may be in, you have to be careful that your silence, yes, you may not want to, you don't want to stir the pot, or you don't like confrontation. Listen, as a leader, you can have confrontation without being confrontational. All right? Especially when it's harm that is happening to someone on your team or in your family. They're going to assume that that environment, that culture is not there to protect them. And then lack of follow through. My eye opener that I shared at the beginning of the episode, when you don't keep your word, when you don't follow through, again, you're teaching people that their needs don't matter. And that's not something you want to be known for. Every person should matter to you. Every person in your environment, on your team, should matter to you. And listen, people don't lose trust because of one failure. They lose trust because of the patterns that's being developed. It's not once, it's not twice. It's a repeated pattern of lack of follow through, keeping silent, favoritism, inconsistency under pressure, or those small compromises that are happening. A simple way to think about trust is this. Trust grows when people experience integrity. You do what you say you're going to do. Competence. Yes, you can deliver. And care. You value people, not just their outcomes. Integrity, competence, and care. Many leaders focus heavily mainly on the competence of the skill set. But belonging is shaped by integrity and care just as much, if not more. You can be competent and be cold. You can be competent and inconsistent. Belonging grows when people trust both your integrity and your care. So when you're thinking about character, when you're thinking about, belonging and how the two tie together, how can we make this actionable? What can we practice to strengthen our character in this week that's coming up, right? And I'm going to give you 3 different practices you can do. Number 1 is clarify your non-negotiables. You need to be asking yourself, what do I want to be known for? What values guide my leadership? And what will I not compromise? Those are your non-negotiables. So you need to I'm going to ask you to write down 3 values that define how you lead and influence others. And that begins to shape what your non-negotiables are. So you can make sure you have it clarified so that when situations arise, time out, gotta stop. That's one of my non-negotiables. Practice number 2, audit your consistency. You guys know an audit. You get an audit in your finances, you get an audit in your job. So audit yourself. Audit your consistency. Ask yourself, do people experience me consistently? Or am I wishy-washy? Am I up one day, down some days, just all over the place other days? Are your standards fair across people? Do I lead with respect even when stressed? Even on my bad days, do I still lead with respect? And you can even ask someone that you trust the following questions as well. If you really want to take that next step, go to that next level, be bold, ask someone you trust. Where do I become inconsistent? That question alone is a character builder. And number 3, make one repair. Character isn't proven by never failing. It's proven by what you do after. If you owe someone an apology, clarity, a follow through, or a correction, make the repair. Contact that person. Reach out. Take accountability and repair what is broken. Repair where you slipped up. Repair does not weaken your leadership in any environment that you're in. And if truth be told, when you repair something, you're strengthening the trust in that environment. People are now seeing you as human. Oh man, he or she apologized. He or she, identified they didn't follow through, and now they're going to follow through. They've now followed through with it. It strengthens the trust and begins that rebuilding of trust. Keep in mind that once you lose someone's trust, it is really hard to get it back. So as you are leading, as you are influencing others, you want to do your best to maintain that trust and repair as quickly as possible, because the longer you let it go on where that trust is broken, the harder it's going to be to repair it. So this week, as you're sitting with character, when you're reflecting on character, think about, what do people learn about leadership by watching you? Think about, where might I be protecting reputation more than my character? Think about, what value do I need to practice more consistently? Character is the foundation. It's the root of trust. And trust is the beginning of belonging. If people can't trust you, they can't feel safe. If people can't trust you, your character is not one living through with integrity. So just keep those things in mind as you sit with this character, this pillar in the belonging leadership model on character as one of the foundations that we're trying to build. Character. In the next episode, we move into the second pillar, which is courage. And we'll talk about courageous conversations, how to speak up without burning those bridges. And remember, if you want a practical tool to strengthen belonging anywhere in any environment, download my free guide, Belonging Check-in Questions. The link is in the show notes. Again, I thank you for listening to the Belonging Advantage, where leadership, culture, and belonging meet. Until next time.